So I hope you guys enjoyed the Limit 1 festival, or at least tolerated it enough to get all the gems from it. But let's focus our attention on the other event this month, which is the Fusion Link Festival. And believe it or not, this event is way lower powered than the Limit 1 festival. Even though, every card was limited in that event didn't really have much of a ban list. A majority of the cards that you could just play in normal ranked, with the exception of Floodgates, you could just play in that festival, and you could clearly tell that just limiting cards to one was not enough to curb the power level of the strongest decks in the game. However, with this ban list for the Fusion Link Festival, they weren't messing around, okay? So like some of the cards that are just banned in this ban list that weren't banned in Limitless 1 include cards like Kid Kalos, Branded Fusion, Rescue Ace, Turbulence, Snake Eyes Poplar, every Horus card, Called by the Grave. They banned every Kashtira monster, or at least the good Kashtira monsters, so no Fenrir, no Unicorn. Like, they also banned pretty much the 3 best generic Link monsters in the game: Appaloosa, IP, and SP. All 3 of those bozos are gone from this event. So with this ban list, not only do you have like pretty much all the best decks from the Lim 1 festival being in some way, shape, or form nerfed to the point they're either unplayable or just nowhere near close to being the best deck. Even for the majority of decks, even if you're just a random Link based deck, you're missing probably the best Link monsters from your extra deck in the form of like SP, IP, or Appaloosa. So you really gotta get creative with what you put in. And that also begs the question, what are going to be the best decks for this event then? So why don't we go over one of the decks, which I'm pretty sure everyone is just happy about taking over the top spots right now. It's Morbin time. Can you try to guess which fusion deck I'm gonna be playing this event? Yeah. Given the limitations to all the other fusion decks, Dinomorphia may very well be the best fusion deck for this event. And I realize that this is a deck that's basically inaccessible or out of most people's price range, given the just look at the amount of URs there are in this deck. Like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, and if you don't play a trap deck, so you're not even gonna own most of these. So if you're one of the lucky ones that does own a full Dinomorphia deck, the fusion part of the event is going to be a breeze for you. All the fusion missions and just getting all the medals and all the gems, freelo. If you're not, I'll just go over this deck to briefly describe what this deck actually does, so that you may have a chance to know what to do when you're actually playing against Dinomorphia. So, yeah, this deck makes this card called Rexterm. Make sure you have a way to deal with Rexterm. The Rexterm, entire skill drain for any monsters you control with less life, with higher attack points than your Dinomorphia opponent's life points. Dinomorphia players are going to be hella low on life points, under 2,000 pretty much the entire time. So that means the majority of monsters will be floodgated and skill drained when you play against Dinomorphia. Also, if you draw Solemn Judgment and Solemn Strike, these are also reduce your life points. So you're pretty much not going to have monster effects on the field live. So you need other ways to deal with this. You can try to attempt to stop Domain and Frenzy. Domain and Frenzy are the 2 ways to get the basically fusion summon this deck and get to Rexterm and Kentragina. The issue is that you have 3 of each of these, plus 3 Theresia, plus 3 Fossil Dig, plus a Pod Duality, and any additional number of Trap Trick that you decide to run. So you can have upwards of 15 plus ways to get to your Rexterm. So even if you have a single Ash Blossom, like one single Ash Blossom, unlike with other decks, like maybe we'll say Lab, even though if you know how to play Lab properly, Ash doesn't kill you, but Ash really is not sufficient against majority of Dinomorphia openings, because you can just beat Ash by having just the other fusion spell, by having a strike, by having an intact, which is intact is searchable. Intact is just an in-archetype Solemn Strikes. You have 6 ways to negate the Ash by itself. You have 3 additional fusion spells you can draw that lets you fuse anyways, even if the Nash negates your other one. And then all of these are like searchable, and you run 12 copies between like these cards. Like the majority of the hands you have are gonna be able to play through Ash just because you have you just have a higher quantity of good cards at like monster negates or fusion spells. So yeah, Super Poly is also banned. Well, not banned, but Super Poly is limited. Plus they hit Garura and Mud Dragon. Yeah, like of the swamp. Yeah. So Mud Dragon and Garura are banned. So Super Poly is limited, and those are not real ways to out Rex term. But yeah, if you can't get the Ash resolved, you might just have to force certain board breakers against Dinomorphia. Stuff like, I don't know, perhaps Book of Books or Droplets or Chalices, and maybe you go for Evenly match, which is legal. Evenly, you only have 3 Solemn Judgment plus a searchable Sonic as else evenly, so like it's much more likely that the Dinomorphia player will have a way to play through Ash than it will have a playthrough evenly, even though theoretically it can play through both. So yeah, it's annoying. There's no shame in just scooping to your Dinomorphia opponent if you see them go first at 5 and act, and you don't have a way to print the Rex term. Like it's an event. It's not that serious. You can just move on. It'll save both of you guys' time, I suppose. And yeah, also watch out for Ferret Flames. Ferret Flames, basically, the combined, if you control monsters with attack points higher than the Dinomorphia opponent's life points, you shuffle all of your monsters back until your attack points on your field are equal to or lower than your opponent's life points, or less than your opponent's life points. Which, if they're under 1k, you're gonna lose all your monsters, and that's just a random board wipe. So yeah, I'm sorry that this deck is gonna be one of the best decks. If there's a silver lining, it's that this deck is hella expensive, so most people aren't gonna be able to own this deck. So it's not gonna be as common to face this than say, Branded or Tier were in other fusion events, because more people have access to those decks than they do with Dinomorphia. Yeah. Unchained surprisingly has more ways to deal with Dinomorphia, so if you own an Unchained deck, maybe that's a way you can counteract this deck. Now for the actual Dinomorphia players, other options you can run in this deck. As you see, we're running I'm running Solemns and Evenlies and Imperms and Fairflame, stuff like this. You could also, there's other traps such as the Soul, the Supreme King engine, which I recommend running with 3. Yes, 3, the Runick Cannon, because Soul, the Supreme King plus the Runick Cannon basically is a board wipe, a complete board wipe with Zark. So that's cool because this flips Zark face down, and that means when Zark is flipped face down, it's no longer negated, so its effective wipe the field actually applies. So that's a way to have going second. But also Draco Utopian Aura. If you somehow, for some reason, own this card, this is just another copy of Solemn Strike, except it only works on monsters on the field, so it doesn't beat Ash, but it does help you go second by being another card you can, when they use their negates or use their interactions on their board turn 1, you can just negate this, end the chain, and then your trap will resolve. So something like a Fair Flames, extra life when you're low enough, or just getting a Rex term out on your opponent while they have an established board. And the extra deck, literally nothing matters except these 9. SP is banned, so none of the good links matter. No Xyz, no Synchros, no Psychic and Punisher, stuff like that. Azalea might be the only one you run into, but you might not even own this card anymore, because honestly, this card's not played in any deck since SPS came into the game. But if you still own this, Azalea probably will come up. Nothing else really does come up. You could also run a copy of Miscellaneous Source if you want as another fossil dig target. I just cut it because it's honestly it's not that big of a deal if I have Misk or not. It's like it's like an extra form of protection for your Rex term, I suppose, but that's already if you don't draw any other real back row with it, which you are going to anyways. You can run a Misk too. You don't need 3 Diplos. Diplos isn't really a good card unless you run more copies of your Dinomorphia traps like Brute or alert, then Diplos doesn't really do anything by itself. It's really just a fusion material, and if you draw it, it's like it kind of sucks. Then you have to fuse out your hand, but it's probably it's worth it to go for a Rexterm. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So here is the other best potential fusion deck for this event, which is Chimera. And no, we can't really play Branded Chimera because of the banning of Branded Fusion. That engine is just not worth it without the 1-card starter of Branded Fusion. But surprisingly, I say this like very surprisingly, I'm shocked that they didn't do any additional hits on the Runick engine. Granted, like, I mean, what are you really gonna do with the Runick engine when everything else is hit? But yeah, this is probably the best way to play Chimera for this event. So the Runick engine is Runick engine. It is what it is in Master Duel. You draw cards, you get you get interruptions. Hopefully you draw your good Runicks like Flashing Fire and Freezing Curses, and you don't just draw Smiting Storms and Potent Droplets, because you know that's the thing with the Runick engine in Master Duel is you're more likely to draw your bad Runick spells than you are to draw your good Runick spells, which doesn't matter if you're using them for like instant fusions as just like bodies, but it does matter if you're trying to use them as disruption for your opponent's turn. And obviously, you know, one fountain, LOL. Yeah, I'm actually running. So obviously you max out on Gazelle, Coddle, and Mirror Swordslight and Chimera Fusion. I'm also running triple Berthamut. Berthamut, it's a starter in a Runick version, because worst case scenario, you just Runick for a Runick monster, and then you tribute summon it for Berthamut, and that's how you get your engine going. It's not even bad, because that also clears your EMZ to where you can then summon another Runick later and that even draw cards, trigger the Fountain Draw. So that's honestly, you might not own 3 Berthamut, because honestly, if you don't play Chimera Runick, there isn't really a reason to play a 3rd Berthamut. But especially for this event, if you just somehow have a 3rd Berthamut lying around, I would highly recommend or highly consider playing all 3 copies of Berthamut. It is not a brick at all in the Runick version. And the Runick spells, I don't know if this is enough. Personally, I think you might be able to get away with running more. I feel like this is going to be a lower power event, so you might not need to go with that much non-engine in order to actually be able to play the game. But the non-engine I've went through is Triple Evenly and Triple Tactics, just the high impactful ones. Again, there's no... I don't think Ash is necessarily as important anymore, especially with Branded Fusion banned, and it's honestly, it's not even, you know, even in a lower power format, it's not the most impactful hand trap. It's not like you need Ash to stop Maxi or anything, so it's whatever. Tactics actually, you know, can swing games, and it's pretty strong going first and second for maybe, actually, I don't even know if Tribal Tactics is that good going second, because Guardian, that's the other thing of playing Chimera. Guardian Chimera is a 1, so that is a very actually somewhat significant nerf, especially if you're playing the Runick version of Chimera, because it's not like you're ending the game on turn 2 or turn 3, because you physically can't, because you don't have a battle phase with the Runick cards. And then that's where you want to actually make multiple Guardian Chimeras, because you can make one like going second, or you can make one like as your turn 2 play as like your main form of disruption, but then you need to go another turn, but you don't have another Guardian Chimera to go into. So it's actually kind of weird. And Tactics taking their opponent's monster and using this Guardian Chimera is not as relevant when you only have 1 as well. So yeah, man, this is just a strange hit. Like, I guess they didn't want to make Chimera completely unhit for this event, but this is the limiting Guardian Chimera to 1 is definitely an interesting hit, I will say. Yeah, then the rest after these non-engine, I'm just running as many copies of the good Runick spells as you can. Tip, Flashing Fire, Destruction, Freezing Curses, Slumber, and then because this is Master Duel, we're super down bad. 3 Smiting Storm, 3 Dispelling, and 2 Golden Droplets. Like, Jesus Christ, man. The absolute state of the Runick Engine in Master Duel. And the extra deck, to be honest, most of this stuff doesn't matter. Like, half the stuff doesn't matter. Like, the 3 copies of Gary is just because Gary is a beast, and beast is a good type because you need the beast to make all your Chimera fusions. But yeah, 2 Hugin, 2 Chimera, the King of Phantom Beasts for the hand loop, 1 Berthmit, double Drago Stapelia because I don't know what else to fit in the slots for the second Stapelia would be, and you need other fusions to go into again because Chimera is limited. That's why there's also double Magnum the Reliever, even though this you don't necessarily even want to go into this as a disruption. Maybe you don't need 2 of this because banishing your Chimera fusion isn't that good, and you're not playing the Patchwork Engine in this build. You can, if you want, you could fit in the Patchwork Engine and just cut some runic spells and like cut the tactics. That's also another way to make it work. But at the same time, you have 1 Guardian Chimera, so after you make the first Chimera, it's like then the additional copies of Poly, they basically only get you into Magnum, which I guess it's fine. Yeah, the Patchwork Engine is definitely a possibility to run. 1 Chimera Delusion Beast. This is, in the Runic version, this actually is not that important because you don't have a battle phase most of the time, so this being an OTK enabler doesn't really come up as often as normal Chimera builds. And 1 Sleipnir. You could probably, maybe you could run more Sleipnir and cut a Magnum, because I really can't see it in any situation where you would want 2 Magnum in a Runic build. But yeah, there's a lot of flex spot in this extra deck. There's no SP or anything, so it's not like you can, there's really anything to, there's not really any porn links you can play. Maybe Azalea. Yeah, Azalea might be good to go into because you can make it and then you can also clear your EMZ. That's pretty nice. Same with Donner. I believe Donner's still legal. Yeah, so if you have like Azalea and Donner, you could run these 2 just as links you can use as removal and to clear EMZ to summon more runic monsters with your runic spells. So yeah, that's Runick Chimera. Again, the options for fusion decks, especially the high-end ones, are kind of low, but hopefully between this and Dinomorphia, you'll get an idea of what the best ones are. We might be in a format where Unchained is unironically best deck, considering all the hits to all the other decks, not to mention the hits to the generic Link monsters in IP, SP, and Appaloosa. It's really to a deck like Unchained's advantage, where it has in-engine payoffs that don't rely on the generic Link monsters, but that Unchained actually has in-archetype disruption it can access without basically defaulting to IP, SP, Appaloosa like every other fucking Link deck. And also Maxi is banned, so what's not to like? Well, the loner, that's one thing not to like. If you are a seasoned Unchained player, please don't look at the loner. That loner is like literally an abomination of, like, no pun intended. Yeah, if you only Unchained cards, just play Unchained. I'm sure it'll be fine. The issue is no Exceeds, so there's no Caesar line, which in turn makes the DDD package not really as good since you don't have access to, the Zeus line with the Machinex and like that stuff as an option. I mean, you can still play like a way to get Requiem, but maybe it might be worth running still. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I'm pretty sure this is just an Unchained list of all the standard ratios. Unchained players can correct me, but I'm like, these are the correct ratios. Like 3 Tour Guide and a Phoenix Rhino Warrior if you own the Tour Guide, which I somehow have 3 Tour Guides, so yeah. 3 Aruha, 1 Rakea, 1 Sarama. I don't know if you run the Blue Dog or not. The massive brick might be worth running just because we have more space, because you're not on the DDD engine, I suppose. So if you want, you can run one of the brick Blue Dogs, 3 Shivara, 1 Shayama, 1 Abominable Unchained Soul, 3 Prison, a 1 Wailing, and then 3 Escaped and 2 Chamber. And you see there's lots of room for non-engine here, so I actually put in like 12 hand traps, and triple tactics thrust with like a couple thrust targets and Duster and Talons. Maybe like you might not need this for this event. There might even just be less hand traps thrown around in general, and then triple tactics thrust like might not even be that good, to be perfectly honest. Also, playing around the Biru is a lot harder again because no XDs means no Caesar, so you don't just have the auto easy out to Nibiru. So you have to play a bit differently there, but at the same time you also have more room in the extra deck. Now you have like the 2 soul, the 2 Yama, the Abomination, the 1 to 2 Soul of Anguish. Normally you only run 1, but again there's so much space now without the Xyz, so you can run 2 of these, 2 Unchained Soul of Rage. I'm running like each of the Nightmares. The payoff now is you're probably going to find some way to Griffin lock your opponent instead of Caesar. So again, in-engine payoffs with like Abomination and then like all of these traps and then a Nightmare Griffin on top of it. It's like who needs IP, who needs SP, who needs Appaloosa, right? Muck, Cracker, Unicorn, White Woman, Access Code. I don't even think you even go into Access Code at all, but again, you know, you got space, you got the Sprite Elf too. The Sprite Elf can bring back Yama on your opponent's turn, and then add a Unchained monster. I don't think that comes up too often, but you know, you have the space, so it's an interaction you can keep in mind now. Other options are, if you're not fond of the thrust package, or if you don't somehow own 3 tour guides, which I guess not everyone does, since this is how do you even obtain this card now? Oh yeah, you have to craft it. There is a budget package for Unchained where you can run the Dark Beckoning Beast and opening the Spirit Gates. So this engine is basically it's set of the tour guides, and like maybe you're replacing thrust or one of the hand traps of your choice. You run the Dark Beckoning Beast, and this essentially also gives you a 1-card Yama. So you can Beckoning Beast, add Spirit Gates, add another Beckoning Beast, use Beckoning Beast, extra normal summon to summon the other Beckoning Beast. Then you have 2 Fiends on the field, and you make Yama. So if you don't have Tour Guide, or if you don't want to play Tour Guide, Dark Beckoning Beast is another starter and a normal for this deck. And you can run 3 Spirit Gates as well, because you can do Spirit Gates into Dark Beckoning Beast, and then Spirit Gates is a starter if you run the Chaos Summoning Beast. So then you can do you can do Spirit Gates, add Dark Beckoning Beast, add Chaos Summoning Beast, and then normal summon the Chaos Summoning Beast. And that still gets you 2 Fiends. This card is kind of a brick though, but you know, Unchained isn't a deck that's unfamiliar with having to run bricks in its deck, so you know. Alright, so I really believe in Prankits. It's legitimately might be one of the best decks this format, because this is a link deck that again has its own archetype payoffs. Does not rely on the generic shit like Appaloosa, IP, SP. No, you have Battle Butler in your deck, so you can just nuke your opponent's field like up to twice, because Meow Meow Moo is also at 3 now in Master Duel, so you have this in full power. Okay, maybe not full power. Adventure Engine is kind of iffy. You can run the Adventure Engine as just a supplementary engine for like chain blocking, I suppose. But Griffin Rider is banned, so all you're gonna get out of that is an illegal knight. It doesn't really. It plays harder into the Nibiru, and you gotta run more bricks. So it's up to you. I mean, yeah, this is. If you want to play pure prank kit, I think the pure prank kit stuff, all of the cards are completely legal besides the Griffin Rider for the Adventure Engine. So 3 Fansies, 3 Propsies, 3 Lampsies, 3 Plays, and then 2 Roxy's, because Roxy is the one that Battle Builder does not need, so it's the worst one, it's the least important one. But yeah, these are all your starters. Again, 1-card starters. Gotta love it. And then you have non-engine, hand trap, hand trap, hand trap, hand trap. Mourner could be literally anything. Like you could run anything in its place. Honestly, you can honestly also maybe even consider running Red Reboot if you're not afraid of Dinomorphia, and it does beat it. I mean, the really hard thing is like just trying to beat Ash. So this is why I'm running 3 Ranked Slays, because at least this chain blocks it. Chain blocks Ash one time, so you get an extra body even if they do have Ash. But other than that, like, yeah, I'm running also the DPE engine because I need to fill out space in the main deck, and you do run Verte anyways for the Thunder Dragon fusion, where there are lines where you can go Thunder Dragon fusion into Battle Butler. So if you're already running that, if you're running Verte anyways, but then you also get to a setup where you already have your full Prank Kids line, but then you have like a couple monsters on top of it, then you could also go for a DPE line too. Again, DPE is not necessary either. You could also just run more non-engine instead of the DPE. It's fine. You could run the Adventure engine, like I said. There's a lot of space in this deck because the Prank Kids engine, it only takes up half the deck. The other half the deck you can use to dedicate for non-engine. 3 Poly, since Poly with Rocket Ride also is another way to start playing the game. It's ways to extend past hand traps. 1 Pranks just as a free draw. This is also why you want to run a lot of these hand traps, because you get a free draw during the end phase, so you might as well get a chance to draw into even more disruption for your opponent's turn. Double Pandemonium, and the extra deck is 1 Rocket Ride, 1 Weather Washer with the 1 DPE, 2 Battle Butler, 3 Prank Kids Meow Meow move. Just show this to scare a TCG player. Double Dodo Doodle Doodle Do, double Bow Wow Bark, Verte Anaconda, and then Elf plus Peruvian Princess. This is another line that also helps play through interruption, in that you could if you there are some times where you have just like extra bodies in the field in order to make a Promethean Princess, and then Promethean Princess can go into Elf. Or I should say, most often Princess revives Bow Bark, since Bow Bark is a link to Fire Monster. And then with Bow Bark and Princess, you can go into Sprite Elf, so that you're not fire locked. And then you have to be careful with how you play with Princess plus Pandemonium, because these have 2 separate locks during your opponent's turn. Because Pandemonium will lock you into fusion, it will lock you into Prank Kids monsters, and then Princess will lock you obviously into Fire Monster if it gets summoned. So how you would play this is you have to ideally chain Pandemonium to the Princess. So you go Princess Chainlink 1, Pandemonium Chainlink 2, and that way Pandemonium resolves, summon your Battle Butler, and then you're locked into fire so that the Princess doesn't actually summon itself out. However, it will still pop the monsters that it targets, so you still get the free pop without being locked into fire. So that also keeps your Nibiru alive as well, and also keeps your DPE alive. So yeah, just be careful with how you play it if you ever go for the Premium Princess line, but do know that you can play around the both locks like that. But we're just going back to old school decks, because these old school Link decks are the decks that Konami touched the least on the ban list. And mainly because, again, these decks have their in-engine are own forms of disruption that aren't reliant on generic Link monsters like IP and SP. Now, the Tri-Brigade did, it is a notorious Appaloosa abuser. So the Appaloosa ban did do something to it. At the same time, the Tri-Brigade engine can easily pivot because of Kit being level 2. You can pivot to, instead of making Appaloosa on your end board, you simply do Sprite Elf into Pit Knight early, and then you use Pit Knight early as a negate instead of Appaloosa. Not as good, but it's an interruption that this deck can easily substitute Appaloosa for a different interruption still in form of Pit Knight early. So it's still fine. The ideal end board, you can still get an Elf with Pit Knight early pointing to it, a Revolt set, and a double Dragon Lord for another bounce. And you have how many non-engine do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 16 pieces of non-engine. Yeah, Not bad, not bad. So the Tri-Brigade engine is pretty self-explanatory. Like I'm really running 3 of each of the best ones, and then the hand traps or whatever. The hand traps are 3 tanky, the 1 revolt. Also running Mercurial, Albion, and Branded Sword because honestly, you have to space this format. It's not like you can run Colubi or Cross Out anymore. But I like this because it basically just provides you an extra card. So like in the lines where you could banish forward to search Mercurial, or you can use Kit in lines where you have an extra dump. You can use Kit to dump Mercurial, and then just banishing Mercurial just adds you a Shot of Dragon, which dumps Branded Sword, which adds back to the Mercurial. So you just get a draw plus a Mercurial in your hand. So you get 2 free cards essentially. And then Tri-Brigade with Bearbrum and Fergie, they put cards back in order to search Revolt or to draw a card. So you basically get 2 free cards, 2 free draws, like a draw off Fergie and like a free put back to add Revolt that you can just put back later. It's nice for hand size. Also, it helps with Bearbrum's discard effect. You can actually use Bearbrum to discard too. So then going this line also gives you basically a free double Dragon Lord, since that gives you the free discard for Bearbrum that you can just add the Dragon Lord onto your field. And I'm playing the small Ancient Warriors package. So normally this is where Rescue Cat would be, and Rescue Cat, I can't run Gamma anymore because I mean I can, but Gamma, like, it's kind of not as good because there's nothing you can go into with Gamma. You can't go into Omega and then banish it off the field. So it's actually, even if you use Gamma to protect your Rescue Cat, it's kind of awkward because then you just left with 2 random bodies on the field that actually just clog your board. But yeah, there's no real point running Zoos either because obviously XCs are banned in this event. So the Ancient Warriors package is actually even a budget alternative to the Rescue Cat. This is essentially just the Rescue Cat engine that costs an extra card in hand, but loses less hard to like Ash because you don't lose the body if you get ashed on your Sun Mole. So essentially, this Sun Mole, you can send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard, any card. So if you send a Tri-Brigade Nerdball or a Tri-Brigade Kit with Sun Mole, that is absolutely full combo. That's basically just Rescue Cat that plays through more hand traps. And then you can add an Ancient Warrior monster to protect your hand. So you will add Ingenious Sun Mole, what the fuck? Ingenious Juga Kong. I got my fucking Dynasty Warrior names messed up. Yeah, and when this card is added to your hand, this is Poplar. This is Ancient Warriors Poplar. You special summon it. That's the best way I'll describe this card. This is Ancient Warriors Poplar. Okay, and then you have 2 Beast Warriors on the field, and then you can do the standard Rescue Cat line where you can go into Fergie, and then Fergie will summon Tri-Brigade monster from your hand, and then you can just go off from there, banish 4, because yeah, you will have 4 beast Tri-Beast names in the grave. You can also use these. You can hard make double Dragon Lord, by the way. Like, this is 2 Beast Warrior monsters, including a Win Ancient Warrior monster. So this is a Win Ancient Warrior monster. You can actually just use these 2 to hard make the Ancient Warriors of double Dragon Lord, and then when this is summoned, you get to add another Ancient Warriors from your deck hand. So you add another copy of Sun Mole to your hand as a free discard follower and stuff like that. And this has another effect where, yeah, if another Ancient Warrior monster is activated, so you send a card, you add Druga Kong. Druga Kong's effect activates, special summons itself, and then because you activate the effect of another Ancient Warrior monster, you can return the monster or your opponent's just to their hand. So it's a bounce too, so it's better going second than Rescue Cat as well. It applies more pressure. Also, what's nice about this is, unlike Rescue Cat, this is searchable with Tanky. So you don't have to just Tanky for Fractal. If you already, a lot of times where you have Fractal and Tanky, the Tanky doesn't do anything because you already have your only Tanky target. But now you can diversify your Tanky searches and add Master Sun Mole. So it's like you have 6 copies of a pseudo Rescue Cat. Well, I really like this engine. It's just the deck was, by the time I got into this deck, the deck wasn't really meta anymore, and this engine kind of fell by the wayside. But for this event, this has potential. You could also play Ancient Warriors too, but I'm not familiar with the entire Ancient Warriors deck. But I know that this engine is really good in Tri-Brigade, and we definitely have the room to play this now. And the extra deck is you have a lot more room now, so I'm playing like double Shrek, even though you only go into one most of the time. You have what Access Code, Rugal, Doom Eagle, Hit Knight plus Elf, double Bearbrum, double Fergie. You don't even go into 2 of these. Circle Lightheart, you need this because this is a Link 1 that you can summon by just banishing 1 Tri-Beast monster. So if you get like hand trapped and you only have 1 of your Tri-Brigade monsters in grave, you can still go into this and then combo from there. Almirage is to put the Link off the kit, and Nerdball to put them in grave. And wow, this is only 14 cards. Yeah, you can put in something else. The Ruma, yeah, the Ruma, fighting the Ruma with all 2 Beast-Wearing monsters. You can, yeah, you can just target a spell, trap, and destroy. And when this destroys another monster, you can add a banished one of your Tri-Beast monsters to add to your hand. So this is a, I mean, you're probably never gonna make this, but it's a nice option to have. So yeah, it's Tri-Brigade, Ancient Warriors Tri-Brigade. Yeah, as you can see, some of the strongest decks in this event are a far cry from the decks that you saw in Limited 1 Festival. So yeah, that just shows the lower power level of this event. And while a lot of these decks are surprisingly, you know, with the exception of Dinomorphia and Chimera, you know, the fusion decks are always expensive, but a lot of Link decks that I showed were even kind of budget already, but there are even more budget options that are available. And I'm sure many of you are clamoring for, like, there's a certain Cybers deck that's missing that's pretty budget as well. Don't worry, I will get to all of those budget decks and more in like the next video where I go over the budget decks and the loaners as well. So stay tuned for that.